Weddings are a lot of fun, but planning can be kind of tough. There are so many details to think about, and it's easy to forget what's really important along the way.
And if you've watched this series before, you'll have heard a lot of advice from us and from other wedding vendors about planning sustainable events. But we haven't yet heard from married couples themselves.
So this season, we've invited 4 recently married couples to a dinner party to chat about their wedding planning experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between. They'll sit down with our friend Sarah, an event planner here in Victoria, to chat about their own weddings and to share their insights.
Throughout the night, we'll be treated to deliciously scrappy ackies and local libations. So let's sit around the table and talk about how to get you sustainably wed.
What better way to start our last episode of the season than with dessert? Mensch Catering brought amazing local and sustainable dishes to the dinner party, and this dessert was no exception.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm warming up milk that we got from Cowichan Milk Company in the Cowichan Valley. We're gonna be making ricotta with this that's gonna be used in the dessert tonight. So it's gonna be a ricotta tart with a whey caramel filling and a cornmeal crust, cornmeal that we're getting that's grown in BC and is organic, grown in BC and milled in-house by us. The reason why we make the cheese in-house for this is one, it lets us get our creative juices flowing. So that's kind of the first reason we do something like that. But then we're also able to use the whey, which is typically a wasted product. It's often used for like animal feed. But instead we're going to be using that and reducing it, adding sugar, butter, and cream to it, and that's going to end up as a part of the filling for the tart. That's also going to have a ricotta custard on it, and it's going to be in the cornmeal crust, cornmeal that we're milling in-house from corn that was grown organically in BC. Yeah, we make all those choices really because it's supporting our direct community as much as possible, and that's really important to us. We think that a food-based business it just makes sense for us to be bringing in products from our community and sending our money out only to our community as much as possible, because there is access to all those things here. It takes a little bit more effort to make those connections and build those relationships, but that's also one of the best parts about what we do.
This looks beautiful. I'm excited to dig in. As we get to our dessert here and our final thoughts, I'm excited to hear from all of you, based on the conversations we've had today and some of the things that we've maybe learned from each other or discussed. When it comes to sustainability in weddings and events, what would be your takeaway advice that you would want to impart onto couples who are just starting their journey? From, couples themselves who have been through it. Navia and Alana?
Yeah, I think the thing that I think about when I think about sustainability is that it's more of a continuum than kind of like black or white. It has to be all or nothing. And I think that thinking about it that way and thinking about the ways that you as a couple, as an individual can be more sustainable, that's an important part of the planning process, but that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, that you don't have to be...
Like less pressure,
it's
right?
Less pressure, yeah. And I think that we kind of have those expectations too of it has to be, if it's not everything, then it's not sustainable.
Yes.
But there are small decisions that you can make along the way to really reduce your footprint and...
dials, not switches.
Dials, not switches. Yeah, I like that, yeah.
And something we did that I think would be helpful if a planner did as well is to show the different possibilities of what weddings look like, because again, for us, it was about what we wanted versus what we should have done. And so if we were maybe more explicitly shown, look at all these different types of weddings that are not so traditional, and there might be elements that are traditional, I think that would be helpful, because then you know that, okay, you really can do anything.
Here's what's
or
possible.
You did some research yourself, and we're like, oh, why do we cut cakes?
Right.
So understanding that is important just for interest, but then you're like, but that doesn't really matter to us.
Right.
And it could matter for someone else, and so please make that possible for you.
Right. Yeah.
But for us, it's picking
like that.
what worked for and what we wanted for us. Yeah.
So a thing for couples to consider and something that we as the wedding industry can do better as well.
Yeah.
I like that. Simon and Allie?
I'd say definitely don't worry about the little things, or think about the little things maybe, and how you can change them, like cups.
Like staying up all night making paper signage.
That too.
It's like
Is it
fairly
really
inconsequential. Like, and sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, like the rental side of thing too. Like, we just remembered actually that though we used compostable cups for the draft beer, the least sustainable thing we did was we used like dollar store cheap plastic wine glasses for the wine.
Interesting.
Because again, backyard, what do? We don't want glass breaking everywhere.
Yeah.
But if we just thought about it before, if we took the time to really think about it, we could have easily had a replacement that would have been better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. So rentals and intentions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And is there anything that you think the wedding industry as a whole could do better for sustainability, especially to support the style of event that you had? Maybe making it known that those rentals are available?
Exactly.
I think,
I'd
yeah,
say that,
communication, absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. Cool. Brad and Rob, things you would tell other couples for sustainability?
For sustainability, I would say don't rush into any decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the times, like, people think that, oh my God, if I don't book this vendor right now without doing all my research, I'm going to lose them. But like, you know, asking those questions, doing your research, and then booking the vendor, or like whoever is helping you plan, like I think just taking the time is fine, especially if that vendor aligns with your values and you're flexible on your date.
Right. So slow down and make those decisions out of intention and purpose, not out of pressure and, you know, rushed timelines.
Exactly, just out of like the whole pure franticness of it.
Totally, wedding planning can feel frantic. That's a good reminder. Just take a breath and it really all works out. I like that.
Yeah.
Haste makes waste.
Yes. Whoa. That's a good soundbite.
You made me think of that. I was like, a lot of these decisions were made in haste because I was stressed, you know,
So
shooting from the hip.
slow down and also maybe like ask the professionals who you've got on board, or find a planner, coordinator, whoever who does this all the time and can help slow you down and make those decisions intentionally. I like that. And what about the industry as a whole? Was there anything that, you know, we could change to make it more sustainable for what you did?
I think we did a good job in that, just because we were looking to do something small and intimate, and Brad was using vendors that were local. So
Yeah, and I think that is one thing I would touch on, is that I know them speaking kind of as a planner in this situation, but I find it interesting that when sometimes I see planners going to other communities, they're bringing people from their community to that space instead of using the vendors that are in that space already and bringing value to that community. And then therefore making it more sustainable wedding or an event. And I get it, some communities are really small, you do have to outsource, but sometimes if you just take a little bit of time again to find those people, then you could end up with like a much better event than you ever thought.
I love that, and that is just something that makes sense, right? Like going local, not only is it sustainable, but it makes sense. You're using people who are knowledgeable and experts at the events in your area where you're doing things. Michael and Casey, any thoughts for couples who are just starting their planning journey?
You know, we're pretty blessed living in Victoria, that we don't, you know, although we think about it and, you know, we're, I think, conscientious about it. We live downtown, I walk to work. We do our part of sustainability. I think it's really to the vendors and to the industry to be leaders as well. For them to be leading the charge and saying, like, this is how you could be have a sustainable wedding, because we're at the end of the day consumers. So you know what Rad is saying about budget makes sense. And so we can in Victoria make those decisions knowing that for the most part it'll remain somewhat local, and we could have faith in the people that we work with. But I think on the grand scheme of things, it should be the industry. It should be the people that we're working with who are leading this discussion and paying for it, by the way.
Absolutely.
Can they not pay for our wedding?
Come on. Well, for sure. No, that makes a lot of sense, though, and looking to the people who are doing it day in, day out, and experts in this to be doing that. And so on the flip side of that, would you encourage couples then to maybe up the pressure on us a little bit and ask the hard questions? And
I mean, if they have that as a value
themselves,
to them, you know, but I'm thinking more of people who are not as blessed as we are, living in this local kind of spirit on a daily basis. You know, if you're in a place where you have to outsource or you're having to use vendors, and if budget is an issue, well, how can you make the link between budget and sustainability? Like those should be the industry-led discussions.
Yeah, and how you can do it in a way that is accessible to you, right? And meeting people where they're at. I think that's huge, and that is sustainability in its core, is doing something that can actually happen and be continued for time to come and for anyone, anywhere. That all makes a lot of sense. This has been such an amazingly fruitful conversation. Just hearing from your own perspectives after the hullabaloo of the wedding day and after the production is gone and the florals are gone, and what really stuck with you and what you might do differently going forward. It's, as a vendor, so great to hear. And I can only imagine as a couple who's just starting out, I'm sure you all felt trepidatious and excited and overwhelmed and all the things along the way, but bringing it back to that idea that with intention and with purpose and with the things that you might not even know are going to happen, really you can create a very, very memorable and special wedding without all the excess that didn't need to be there in the first place. And that's where the true value is. Amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories with us today. This has been so fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully a fun opportunity to reflect on your own wedding days and reconnect. It's been really fun to actually, here's my personal coming out, but to see you all connect with each other and like look at each other like, oh yeah, that thing that happened, that was really cool.
It's great to make new friends.
And make new friends. We're all going to karaoke after, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah! I'm gonna eat this tart now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to come around and turn off your mics, but
So was that the season? Oh, cool.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Season in a day.
Wee!
This is how they do it in Hollywood.
This is basically Hollywood.
Yeah.
We all get an IMDb now.
Yeah.
As themselves.
Yeah.